The Screwtape letters, letter 9. So letter 9 follows right after letter 8 and goes through the law of undulation. And particularly, Screwtape here is advising Wormwood how to use the dullness or dryness phase of undulation. So if you don't remember what that is, go ahead and watch that last video on letter 8. So how to exploit this? First of all, he talked about how it's an opportunity for sensual temptations, particularly sex, and the desires of the flesh that are more drawn to perversion. So Wormwood says, or, wouldn't you think that sexuality would be, they'd have more energy in the peak, the richness of life. And so Screwtape says, yes, that would be, they have more of a, appetite for sexual pleasure in the peak phases, but they also have greater guard against temptations in those peak phases. So the dullness or the trough phase of undulation is an opportunity for perversions of sexuality and for sensual temptations. So rather than being in love, kind of how can we get them to exploit these desires of the flesh? He also talks about, just one more thing, other desires of the flesh being like drunkenness. This would be a good time to make them turn to drink or turn to other types of perversions. Now he talks a little bit about how all pleasures come from God. We've talked about this in our class as well, especially in a healthy, normal, and satisfying form. So Satan, the demons, cannot make any pleasure. Every pleasure comes from God, which means in and of themselves, in a healthy, normal, satisfying form, they are good because they come from God. So the demons can only encourage humans to take pleasures either at times that are wrong. So again, thinking about it like sexuality, having sex. That's not wrong. The time you have sex could be wrong. Are you outside of marriage? If it's the day before you get married, that would be a sin. Is it the day that you after you get married? That's not a sin. So at times, our time depends on whether or not it's a sin. In ways that are wrong, we talked about with, again, sexuality, that prostitution, that would be a way that sexuality is wrong. Watching pornography, masturbation, right? Those are ways that take the sexual act and pervert it, or in degrees that are forbidden, right? So this would be, again, so like having a drink isn't bad in and of itself. But if we, drink a bottle of whiskey and we get super drunk, that would be a degree that is forbidden. So demons can only encourage us to take these pleasures in the wrong ways, at the wrong times, or in the wrong degrees. The goal for demons is for humans to have an ever-increasing craving for an ever-diminishing pleasure. So we've talked about this as well in class, that, as we get used to something, we build up a tolerance toward it, and then we need more and more of a thing to get to that same high. So we can see this with alcohol. We can see this with drug use. I would say even probably with sexuality or pornography, that as people, consume more and more and more, then maybe what used to get them to this certain place doesn't do that anymore, and so they need something that's like more aggressive or more intense. And so that's the demon's goal. That's what they desire for us as humans. This is I have an illustrated copy of Screwtape letters, so I took this picture from that. So the goal of the demons are trying to keep knowledge out of the patient's mind. Remember, they said that it's not so much putting stuff in, but keeping things out. So for the human that Wormwood is tempting, he wants him to think that each stage is going to last forever. So I'm in this trough, and I'm in this low, and this is where I'm always going to be. This is always going to be like this. This is my new existence, my new reality. So trying to keep knowledge from us instead of saying, hey, I'm just having a bad day today, or I'm just really low right now, but I know things will get better. I know I'll go back up on that peak. So trying to convince him to do that. He talks about 2 different tactics here. The first one is, if he's a despairing man, try to make him regain his old feelings of faith. This is something we've talked about before, so a repetitious theme here, that the goal of our prayer should be about trying to get the feelings desired, right? And again, so if I'm despairing and I'm in this low, I should just try to make myself feel better. This is a mistake, right? We can't just do this as humans, and we know as humans that we will change and things will get better, but it's not based on our own efforts of trying to get feelings, right? So basing our, current state on our emotions and trying to change those emotions is not a good thing for us to do as humans. So the demons want us to do, aka not a good thing for us to do. The other tactic is, if he's a hopeful person, to try to make him become content with his low attitude on faith, right? So being like, moderation for all things. Religion is all very well up to a point. a moderated religion is fine with me, right? So that's also dangerous to try to think that, oh, I'm just always going to be in this low and this is my new reality for faith. And that's okay, God doesn't hear me. He doesn't care about me. I'm fine with that, right? If he becomes resigned to that, that's also a dangerous thing for us as humans, right? Good thing for demons, bad thing for us as humans. Because we want our faith to be real. We want our faith to be active. And that means that we do trust in God, and that we, I would say, aren't content when we are away from him, or when we are doing things that we know we shouldn't be doing. Again, he goes back into jargon as well. So the last option is for the demon to make a direct attack on the patient's faith, to make him think it was just a phase or part of adolescence. So here, this is jargon, words, right? We've all gone through phases before, so if he can make him think that his religious phase is something else he's going through, that'll kind of help him kind of tap the brakes and move away from his religion. And then adolescence, this blessed word, adolescent, to think that, it was just something I did in my youth or as a child, but I'm grown past that now. So these are the demon's tactics on how to attack the patient's faith during the low parts of undulation.